Cliff mentioned or on one of the screens was the public commitment, which means for the council. And I guess I'm looking at what types of public commitment. I mean, obviously, to me, one of the first and the easiest public commitments the council can do is be supportive of things that don't cost money. I mean, like this parking issue, there's as this group gets together and they look at ways of doing parking, it's not going to be popular when we do, if it becomes so that businesses can't park. I mean, they don't understand. If to me, it's very simple, and I'm not a businessman, that I want my customer to park in front of my store.
I can answer that. As the employee, as an employer, you can't tell your employees where to park, because then you have to provide safety for them to get to their cars. So these restaurants that are open late, you can't tell your servers that they have to park in the garage without having adequate safety for them, you know, or even your cooks or whoever, it doesn't matter. So that's part of the problem, is that you have to provide security for them. And it's, if they're just showing up to work and you're not involved in where they're parking, then you don't have really any kind of exposure there.
Well, even American Drapery is one that I had talked to off and on, because they wanted to park in front of their building. They didn't have a lot of customers that came in, and when they started getting ticketed and stuff, they were mad, and they didn't want to walk across the transit because they were scared. And you know, you just get all
We
these
tell them where they
excuses.
can't park. We don't tell them where they have to park, we just say
Right.
you can't park here.
Anyway.
Or they listen.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just saying that those are the kinds of things. There's some non-economic things that I think that's.
Well, there could be some things that are going to be costly too. I mean, as we move down the road here for trying to meet the mission of the city to revitalize the downtown, there's going to be some public investment along the road, and we'll have to figure all of those things out. But as was mentioned, but the Big Five site is an example. If you decide as a council that what we want to do is program more events downtown, create more liveliness and reason for people to come down there, you may agree with what I'd love to see there, which is an expansion of the Piazza Park on the Big Five and maybe a water feature, or however this may look. There's going to be some capital investment in order to be able to do that. Where that comes from, we have no clue right now. We had some discussion yesterday about what we do to try to generate revenues, so we're not sure. We don't know what it would take to do what the public may perceive as necessary for the routing of traffic downtown, but I can assure you that it won't be free. You know, it's the same thing with sidewalk renovations or whatever, if we're gonna have outdoor dining. But one of the things that we do clearly plan to approach this with is it's gonna be a partnership. You know, the businesses and the property owners need to take care of the cleanliness and putting out the beautification like the land does.
Well, I was going to say, and we used to do the flowers.
Yeah.
We had to cut back. How disappointing that maybe only one or two of those doors did their own flowers, and not very well. I mean, it really is something that should be a partnership.
That's exactly right. And I think one of the things we're fortunate about this go around with our effort downtown is the chamber has moved down there. And they are actively committed to being a partner on that side of the effort downtown. So that'll be very, very good.
You have two documents under tab 5 that show past investments in the 3 priority areas, and then potential future investments that you may have had a chance to look at. But we've made substantial investments already in the downtown planning area, which includes the land. And so there's $26 million that was the construction involved with that. But obviously in the downtown, some of you were around when we upgraded all the utility systems. We put in the transit center, the Piazza Park, the pavilion building, and parking garage were all public investments that leveraged a significant amount of private investment. I think that's the thing that we'll continue to try to do. Cliff and Chip and I, and probably you can too, point to a lot of instances where cities invested public dollars in some things that didn't necessarily stimulate private investment. And that's really one of the reasons we want to have this group of investors talk about it, is because we want them to tell us what would it take to get you to spend your money. And then we'll come back and have the broader discussion with the community about how we go about prioritizing that. But you can see that in terms of the future investment, there's a lot of money that's still planned to be spent in these areas, and so we want to do that wisely. And that doesn't include some of the more specific incentive kinds of things, but just things we want to do that we know we need to do for plan for better transportation improvement. So a lot of dollars have been spent, a lot of dollars are going to be spent.
I just am wondering who the attendees are that are going to show up at the mayor's meeting. And because obviously some of those properties are in a pretty sad state. And, if the more of those business owners that you can get down there, it seems like the more pressure, maybe from the ones that have invested some money, could give to the ones that
they're not going to show up.
they're not going to show up. That's what I wondered. Shumsky coming, Dennis, or
No.
no?
No, we're trying to bring together people who have made a big investment downtown, or who are interested or have the horsepower to do
Right.
it, and genuinely have an interest to do something for the downtown.
Right.
So-
So, I mean, that's the problem then. You continue to have some of those buildings that,
Well, and that, part of the strategy will be, how do we address that?
yeah,
You're absolutely
maybe
right.
pressure them too.
Or incentives.
Yeah.
Mayor's council members, welcome at this meeting.
This is not an open public meeting. I've got the council president coming. I have Armando coming as a downtown business owner and council member. And then we'll report out to you what we determine on this first meeting.
Is there any reason why council members aren't?
As I just explained to you, it's not an open public meeting. We're not going to have it that way. I want potential investors and developers to come and feel.
What are the council members interested in the content of this meeting?
If they sit in a public meeting.
One other, is Larry's not here?
You can have one more. You can have three, right?
So we could, I think we can have three.
I guess I am interested in coming to that meeting.
Well, I think we can have three, and so the council president could appoint somebody else if somebody wanted to attend.
And I'm also interested in seeing a list in advance of the meeting also of the attendees.
That's up to the
You don't
mayor.
even
This
know.
is the mayor's meeting. This is not a council meeting. This is the mayor's committee that he's established.
I
So it's up to
understand
the mayor
that,
to
but I guess
decide.
my concern is that this is regarding something that all council members are interested in, and why would it not be something that could be shared? Why is it such an exclusive?
Well, it will be shared. Otherwise, it's a public meeting that anybody and everybody can come.
And what would be wrong with that?
Well, there may not be anything wrong with this, the way we're going to proceed with it. And I've got a small meeting of developers and property owners that can come together and share with us.
But I disagree with the way that you're doing that.
Well,
We
okay,
already
let's-
have a climate of, people that feel that there's not enough transparency.
Well, I know
about
you
this
feel
is-
that way, Greg. I don't think that others feel that way.
Well, I would disagree with that.
Well, that's fine.
Sounds like it's a beginning meeting. I mean, I'm sure the mayor will report back. And there'll be other
Absolutely.
opportunities for the public. I mean, I can see where this is kind of would be better as a kind of a closed door meeting, just because you're gonna get more candid conversation than you might if it was full of community members.
Exactly.
But that still should not exclude elected officials who would like to be at that meeting.
Well, I'm sorry that if you're not on the list, you're not on the list. So I hear what you're saying, but this is the way we're going to move
So
forward.
there it is.
Anything else on the downtown?